Mm, First of all, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight for this webinar, the second webinar on networking for successful international research collaborations. We'd like to thank our attendees and also our panelists. We have a panelist who lives in Guam, and it's Thursday now in Guam at 8 a.m. So thank you, Brazana.
Sure.
So just to give our audience a brief background about the travel grants to the Gender Summits, the National Science Foundation has funded travel grants for women researcher faculty in STEM at minority-serving institutions to attend gender summits in order to start creating international networks and find foreign researchers who are interested in joint collaborations. And the reason why the National Science Foundation was interested in funding these travel grants, it's because there was a background program that NSF had funded and AAAS had implemented in the past that ended in summer, and it was called Mentoring Women in International Research Collaborations in STEM. And thanks to this grant, we had 15 PIs, women faculty in STEM, minority-serving institutions, who received grants to actually implement research projects with foreign collaborators. They had projects that covered the whole globe from different regions of the world. They were very successful. Most of them were very successful. However, findings from the programs showed that they had very uneven success rates, and that has made in majority to do with the fact that some of them had very easy experience in finding foreign collaborators. However, others did not. They were very delayed. So this indicated that that first phase, the initiation phase of establishing connections with foreign collaborators, researchers, was a major element for them to succeed in actually implementing research projects. So in this context, the travel grants, we have awarded travel grants to 2 women faculty to go to the Gender Summit in Cape Town, South Africa. We had also 4 travel awards for 4 other women researchers in STEM to travel to Korea. So they went to Korea to attend the Gender Summit in August. Some of you may have listened to the webinar where they discussed their experiences in networking in Seoul, in Korea, and they gave a lot of insightful and good advice for you group and the following groups. And we really hope that what they shared as opinions and advice was helpful to you, that gave you an insight on how to go about networking and how to go about starting international networks. So at the beginning, we would like to have our panelists introduce themselves. So we have our 4 panelists and 4 delegates to GS7 in Berlin, Germany, where Dr. Gwazna Badowski, she's from the University of Guam. We have also Dr. Limari Fuentes Claudio, she's from Universidad Metropolitana in San Juan. We have Dr. Cynthia Waters from North Carolina A&T State University, and Dr. Amber White from Chicago State University. I would like you please to feel free to start telling us about yourself and your research area.
I'll start with Krishna.
Krishna,
okay.
Do you want to
start? Okay, thank you. So I'm from University of Guam. Actually, I'm Associate Professor of Mathematics, and my background is in applied probability theory and Markov chains. And because of it, actually, I also got involved with the cancer research. So currently, I am actually also, my other head is being a co-leader of Biostatistics Core for NIH U54 Cancer Grant. And actually also, the theme for this grant is actually the partnership between 2 institutions, one of the institutions has like really established research cancer center, and the other one is like minority institution. So for us, our partner is University of Hawaii, and they have like really good cancer research center, and we are just kind of starting. Although we already had like one 5-year cycle, and just this year we were awarded another 5-year cycle. So everyone is pretty much excited about this. And we do studies, like we have many projects in cancer research, like breast cancer, but also like new ways of sampling to the research projects. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Limari, you'd like to be second?
Yes, okay. Hi, my name is Limari Fuentes Claudio. I'm a associate professor at Universidad Metropolitana in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I teach chemistry. My background is in physical chemistry, and my research work is using copper proteins from plants as anti-tumor agents in breast cancer. I'm also working with immobilization of biomass from sargassum and its application in the bioremediation of heavy metals in contaminated waters.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think it's my turn. So I'm Dr. Cindy Waters at North Carolina A&T. I'm an assistant professor in the mechanical engineering department. My research area is more on the materials side, so I'm looking at porous metals and different techniques for creating porous metals, but I want to create those with an eye for more environmental sustainability. So we're looking at several different techniques. So we're also looking at kind of the manufacturing processes and ease of manufacture. What else? I teach Introduction to Material Science. I teach Physical Metallurgy. I teach Composite Materials. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. I'm Amber Wise, and I'm a assistant chemistry professor here at Chicago State University, and my research interests include environmental analysis. I've been doing some aerosol particle detection. I've been working on a detection method and device for formaldehyde in food and water samples, and investigating some remediation methods for that as well, using a sort of greener activated carbon material called biochar. And I also have some research interests in chemistry policy, chemical policy, and green chemistry applications as well.
Great, thank you. Perhaps we start with a basic question, and please feel free to answer anytime. Why were you interested in attending the Gender Summit in Berlin?
Well, this is Imari. It's okay if I start?
Yes,
yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was really interested in attending the summit because I know it was a great place for networking, find possible collaborations both in research and in gender issues, and I saw that the gender issues are quite different in the different areas. So I was really interested in both areas, and that's why I decided to apply for the Travel Award.
Yeah, I think it was really, for me, it was really also just to, I've been meaning for years kind of to reach out to European scientists and spend some time maybe exploring some options with folks over on the other side of the ocean, and this was just a really good opportunity to actually make that happen. And then also attend the Gender Summit itself, which is something that I don't have the opportunity to do, you know, as a chemist, but I've certainly thought a lot about gender topics in my career, just never actually had the time to act on them necessarily.
Thank you.
And for me,
again, I would go ahead.
Okay, so this is Grażyna. So for me, in addition, actually, I was also interested in finding maybe some opportunities for my students. Because, for example, I know that in Europe they have like many exchange programs and many opportunities for the students. I was trying to see if there is anything that could be extended to my students. It didn't work really well, but that was one of my reasons to go to the Gender Summit.
Yeah, and I think that's you know, I could probably combine all of them, right? So I think many of us, being females in sometimes majority male departments and areas, I know mine certainly is, you know, we feel fairly isolated. So I was very interested to, you know, meet all of the delegates and listen to the gender issues and how things are going on overseas and what policies may be in place. But I was also really excited to meet, you know, just the cohort, you know, the other three of you, Lee Marie, Gajna, Amber, and you know, share those experiences. Now, of course, the research opportunities, you know, Germany, and that area of Germany is very renowned for its metallurgy type of research. So that was, once I saw the location, I was like, wow, that's where I want to go and who I want to talk to. But I definitely, it was funny, I found out this past week that one of my undergraduates in my material science class, she came in and talked to me afterwards when I shared about the trip. She says, well, Dr. Waters, I've been taking German for the past 5 years. Do you think there would be any opportunity? So, you know, that's going to be something I'm going to pursue now too. So if I can place any students or work with that, then, you know, that was just kind of a neat coincidence.
Great, thanks.
Well, this is great. And just to along those lines, Amber, when we had the first program on mentoring women in international research collaborations in STEM, one of the biggest findings, which was surprising, is how students and mentees that were involved in the research project were so crucial for the success of the projects, because they had more time availability, and they could also reach out to other funding sources, and that was extremely helpful to the PIs. So it's great to hear that there's a student that may be involved as a consequence of this trip. The second question probably would be a little obvious one. Before you traveled to Berlin, did you put in place a networking plan? Can you tell us about how did you research, or plan for networking in Germany?
So I'll answer first there. I actually sent several emails to faculty members in Berlin. Those didn't happen to work out, but I was in contact, as soon as I found out about this opportunity, I started being in contact with the folks at Fraunhofer Institute in Dresden, and that did work out. You know, we'll still see what kind of comes out of that, but I'm very optimistic still. So yeah, I did have a networking plan in place, and then definitely at the summit, I tried to speak to several of the speakers who I thought were in an area that might have connections, and tried to get some other names from them if they were not the right people for me to be talking to.
Great.
Yes, I wrote several emails to people in the summit, attendees to the summit that were working on the gender area, but also to other researchers in the Berlin area. I wasn't as successful with the researchers, but I keep going out and writing emails. I'm still writing some emails, trying anyway to get in contact with other people in different locations. But I actually had the opportunity to meet with some attendees that are working on the inclusion and of the equality of gender in the research. And it was important for me because I think the students in this case, I was really interested in learning which are the policies and things that are being done just to inform people around my working place that what things are going on and what things can be changed. And in the summit, I'm talking with the attendees of the summit, I got that kind of information.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is Grażyna. So actually, they had like really nice app for the Gender Summit that all the participants were listed and all the speakers were listed. But unfortunately, I don't think it worked really well. Like you had to reload all your information again. And even like the day before the summit, like many participants didn't put information on even the speakers. And actually, there was no way to connect with the speakers via app. So it was kind of disappointing for me, because I thought that would be like great tool to like make quick connections and set up the meetings. Anyway, I don't know what's the reason, and I need to apologize. I kind of missed the part that I'm also supposed to make the connection outside of the Gender Summit. So I wasn't really looking for the places in Germany and university connections. There was one speaker from Poland, and unfortunately, and I emailed him, and unfortunately he canceled. He didn't come. But actually, I keep in touch, and I learned that actually there's one university in Poland that offers master's program in mathematics in English. And of course, it's so much cheaper than United States master's program. So I think maybe that could be like nice opportunity for my students, because we only have undergraduate degrees. So it's like one of the connections that I made. And I guess there will be other questions, so I can talk more about other connections. But as far as the networking plan, I was relying on this app, and it didn't really work that well.
Okay.
Okay, Amber?
Yeah, so I had a plan before, so right when I was accepted for the travel award, I reached out to sort of my grad school and postdoc and other science friends, hoping that they would be able to be a more reliable connection. And I did get a couple of email addresses and sent a couple of emails, but those never panned out into anything useful, aside from them describing a little bit about like the academic system in Germany to me via email. But other than that, it didn't turn into any actual meetings. But then what I did end up doing that was more productive was just, looking at the university websites, looking at their areas of research, and then kind of, drilling down to the individual researcher level, and then sending a number of emails, many emails, to folks who looked like they had overlapping research interests. And so those ended up actually being much more fruitful than my original thought of going through sort of connections or existing networks. And yeah, I mean, I did sort of try to network somewhat at the Gender Summit itself, but I was a little bit more interested in focusing on sort of, I don't know if I want to call it being selfish, but like more of my chemistry and furthering my personal research goals, and not necessarily increasing the gender aspect of some of my research for the time being anyway.
Okay, thanks. So this is Yolanda, and I actually was quite pleased with the outcome from the Gender Summit of all of your participation. And everybody seemed to do something very different, which I found to be great. I mean, I think people took the opportunity to make whatever connections they could, have discussions, come up with ideas. And so, Grażyna, I would like you to talk a little bit about, and I think this follows on what Cindy was saying about the ability for all of you to meet each other and to start to form a relationship since you're all in similar area as far as where you teach. So, Grażyna, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the conference that you had the meeting with all of the AAAS delegates at the Gender Summit, and what you guys are trying to achieve over the next 6 months or so.
Okay, so actually when I was at the Gender Summit, I got email from my vice president that there is still like opening for the ideas for the session for the Pacific Science Congress, which is going to take place this summer in June in Taiwan. And I kind of like shoot email to everyone, all the participants. And actually, I was really happy because, like, especially Amber, like, she took up the idea, and she's so quick. Amber is great. So she took up idea, and she said, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's come up with the idea for the session." And for the time being, our common denominator is actually, the gender issue. So we were thinking maybe we can tap on the resources that we already have. We listened to really some great speakers. So we met in the lobby, and pretty much like in half an hour, I think we wrote like a draft proposal for the session for the conference. And we invited Simone, I believe, Dr. Jenkins from Australia. Simone is from Netherlands, and also Amber's friend, I forgot her name. And pretty much all of them agreed to be speakers in our session. So Amber submitted this. Thank you so much, Amber, for your help. And then
it's really easier than I was expecting it to be honest.
and we got the acknowledgement that they got our proposal, and now we need to wait, and hopefully it will be accepted. And if it's accepted, I think that actually could be a really great place to make the international connections, because sometimes I think in Europe it's really hard because they have those high shots, only research institutions. But in the Pacific region, I think many scientists would be very much interested in making connections with scientists from the United States. So I'm hoping that it's going to work out for all of us. And actually, it's the Science Congress. Of course, our session is about gender issue, but it's the Science Congress. So they are going to have sessions about environment, about math, about like all chemistry. So I'm hoping that if we go and participate, we'll be able to meet scientists for our own disciplines.
Okay, good, thanks. And if anybody else wants to talk about, other things that you got out of attending the Gender Summit that necessarily we thought was going to happen before you went, I think that would be great input. Because as I said, I was really very pleasantly surprised at both the way you were able to connect with each other, and I think be supportive of each other's teaching careers as well as research careers was really quite phenomenal. So I think that was a benefit that we didn't necessarily expect when we set up this program. So if anybody else wants to, add those kind of other things that you got out of it, that would be great as well.
I think I could add just a couple really quick things of just having conversations with folks at the summit itself, not necessarily to further my research or whatever, but I did have some very interesting conversations about various topics, science, gender, equality issues, social justice, all kinds of things like that. So that was kind of like a nice surprise. But also, yeah, I really did enjoy meeting everybody else for sure, and like making some of these connections a little bit more solidified, and having these folks that we've actually met in person and have some things in common with, to draw upon in the future or down the road, I think will be beneficial for sure.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
Yes, I think that one thing that this is Limari. One thing that I really liked about this opportunity was the summit was really fun, really good. I had the opportunity to meet with several people and talk with the organizer of the next summit, which is going to be in Mexico. But also that we connect among us, and from my point of view, I learned a lot of stuff from Cindy, Graciela, and Amber, because our talks were like helped me in changing some of my point of views and taking some ideas and make plans ahead of what I want to do with the career.
Okay, thanks. Cynthia, did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, so I think, also just listening to, the content of some of the talks. So I was in a faculty senate, our university-wide faculty senate meeting yesterday, and I had an opportunity to talk with our chancellor, and, we're talking about, just the university system and changes and so forth. And I brought up one of the conversations that, that the one speaker, I forget where she was from, but talked about just the state of universities, that we need to really reflect on what our purpose is. And so that was a unexpected kind of advantage to the summit. And definitely, I think that, having, Lima Maria in Puerto Rico, that's close enough to the East Coast too. And I didn't mention this to you, Marie, but I'll be going to Puerto Rico probably in a year and a half for a conference, an ASEE conference. And so certainly, you know, we're going to collaborate there. And I definitely, I think we should all continue to try to find those overlap areas. And you know, maybe you've got samples that I can, you know, look at here. So yeah, I think that was sort of an unintended but a really nice outcome.
But you should just keep me in the loop of the information when you're coming.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
So the other question I wanted to ask is if the trip helped you solidify the possibility of having international research collaborations, and do you think that is important for your progression in your career?
So I think, yes, it's definitely important for our, you know, for the career thing. We do live in this global world, and I think, you know, Grażyna, I mean, for me, meeting you with your daughter in Poland and you in Guam, and it really, you know, and then you've been in the U.S. for school. I mean, it just really reinforced for me that what a global place we live in, and I think that, you know, I'm definitely aware that it's important and we need to be collaborating, you know, worldwide. And for me, I'm really, you know, like I said, I'm very hopeful that the conversation that I had with the researcher at Fraunhofer, I mean, he's, you know, they're like one of the experts in this field, this research space that I'm in, and he gave some very good suggestions about his opinion of what's moving forward in, you know, the area. So.
Great.
So actually, I met one lady. She's from University of Oxford and the George Institute for Global Health, and she is epidemiologist. And she gave a talk about the cardiovascular risk factors for women and how they differ between women and men. And she deals like with huge data sets, and she does meta-analysis of many research projects. But actually, we are actually just writing on the proposal. It's also another NIH grant, and actually we are start trying to establish the cohort. And actually, our focus for this grant is cardiovascular risk factors. So we talked about this, and she was interested because actually we have very unique population. So this is what we actually can bring to the discussions and to the table, because our population is really, really unique. Like we have Pacific Islanders, and it's not only on Guam, but the whole of Micronesia. We also do collect data from other islands as well. So I'm hoping, I don't think it's going to happen very soon, because as I said, like the grant deadline is December. So by the time we try to establish cohort, it will take some time, but I'm hoping to keep in touch. And I'm hoping that could be interesting collaboration. And also the speaker that you mentioned, I think, Cynthia, actually was Simone. She was so inspiring to me too. She talked about purpose of science, because it seems that right now it's just science for the science, and we are just supposed to put.
Yeah, Simone, that was it.
And yeah, yep. Simone. And actually, she's the one who agreed to be the speaker at the Pacific Science Congress. So it's really exciting. Yeah, so it's really exciting. And she's also an epidemiologist. So I'm also looking forward to making like closer connections with her as well. And again, she might be interested in collaborations with us because we have unique populations. It's kind of our sellout point.
Yeah, I think I definitely had some really productive meetings. I sent follow-up thank you emails to the 3 folks that I met with, and 2 of them wrote back immediately and were like, oh, just let us know what kind of project you'd like to kind of collaborate on, and what kind of, so I'm in the process of, counting down, first of all, the days to the end of the semester so I can get some time to think about research again. But definitely thinking about how to fund and, make time, and which project I think would be the most helpful to get on with those folks, probably most likely at Humboldt University, the more I think about it.
Okay, good. Okay, anything else on that question? So I think I'm going to, switch gears just a little bit, and I want to talk about, I think, the fun part of being on the trip. And, I think we tried to do a lot of things as a group, and I think that there's definitely a benefit for that. I talked in the beginning as did Cynthia, about just the fact that you guys were able to, form a relationship now that, sounds like in some cases it will continue to progress. And so I wanted to just talk a little bit about your enjoyment of the trip and what you like to do in Berlin, and how we did those things together and or separately, and just kind of the fun part, because I think that was also a big part of the experience.
Well, I'll just say I've traveled through Berlin very infrequently, and sometimes when you go to conferences, if you don't have a big contingency from your university, or if you haven't been going to the same conference for years and years and years, and have this friend group, then you go to conferences like this and you feel kind of isolated. I mean, you don't, you sit and eat by yourself, and you plan things, but it's not nearly as much fun. And this was just, it was so much fun. I really loved meeting everybody.
Yeah, I guess I cannot agree more. It was really fun. And actually, believe me, guys, I didn't plan it this way. When I was applying for the grant, I had no idea that my daughter actually has a break exactly the same time. But when I learned, I used the opportunity, and I said, well, just come over. And actually, Yolanda became like instant hero for my daughter. So thank you for that. And Yolanda is like a role model for my daughter right now. And yeah, it was really great. Like all the dinners that we had together, it was so much fun, and it was really great meeting all of you guys.
And it was great to have Ben there as kind of our tour guide a little bit.
Yeah, I really had a nice time hanging out and like not seeing like a ton of, straight tourist sites, but like spending time and seeing the city, almost more like living there in a way, restaurants and walking the neighborhoods and that kind of thing. It was really nice and relaxing too, to have a few days away.
Yes, it was really relaxing to be away for a few days, and I really enjoyed really much meeting with you guys. It was really fun. Spending time with all of you, I learned a lot about family, time balance, research, and way to behave. It strengthened my purpose on going on and on of what I want to do, and Amber attitude just helped me to just think I'm going to be out there, and I'm going to do all the things that I need to do. Should not be. Amber used to say, like, walk in the room like you should be there. So I'm just working on that really hard. So thank you, all of you, because I learned one thing from everybody, at least.
Okay, so that's great, because I think that, and I also thought that the addition of Amber's husband and Grashina's daughter, it just kind of brought us together even more. So I think it was a great experience from that standpoint. And I really think that's important, because it's the way you build those long-lasting future relationships that's going to help you build your career. You need people who are in the same situations you are and are handling some of the same issues you are, whether or not you're necessarily in the same field. So I think that was an exciting piece.
Yes, I completely agree. I also would like to say that it's you were the 5 of you in Berlin. However, there is a bigger group than that share the same interests and that shared also the same experience. And we would be extremely glad if you see in them also another a group that you can relate to, or you can network with, or you can talk to, because they went through the same thing. There is also the 15 PIs who were awarded for implementing their research, international research projects that understand very well the importance of it, and they would be also very sensitive. So we would be very glad to see you all see in each other a resource for each other. So
And I think that on that note, you know, our goal or dream or whatever you want to call it is really, you know, part of the reason we established the website and that we do things like these webinars is because our hope is you'll kind of, you know, search through this and find like-minded people and be able to form relationships with other women who are really trying hard to have international research collaborations and expand the scope of their research. So please feel free to, you know, go on the site and see if there are other people that you would like to connect with. And of course, our hope at some point is that we may have some opportunity to bring all of you together. But, you know, in the meantime, please use that as a resource.
Yes, actually, I listened to the webinar of the 4 ladies that were in Seoul, Korea. And I think the 2 of them mentioned that they are doing research in the breast cancer. So one of the projects I am involved with is the breast cancer. So actually now I plan to write to them and like ask more questions and see if we can do anything together. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what we hope will happen. So we look forward to, you know, hearing about these relationship building things that you guys decide to do.
Okay.
Yes, and be sure that they bring interest because Arlene, for example, is listening to the webinar right now. Fortunately, she's unmuted, but she's one of the listeners of the message. Cynthia, did you want to say something?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, along those lines, because some of you have listened to the first webinar that we had about the same topic with Tabitha, Joanne, Arlene, and Devon, we asked them that very question. If you were to give any insight or advice to future awardees that will go to the Gender Summit in Mexico City, what could you tell them to make their networking strategy fruitful?
I can start if it's okay. So I have some recommendations to many people, if it's okay. So first of all, if you can guys kind of choose the participants like ahead of time, like even now before the semester starts, because like if you know that you are going somewhere before the beginning of the sem, I mean, all of us are really heavy teaching faculty, right? So if we know ahead of time, it's a little bit easier to plan. And like, for example, like me, it was like kind of hard to do like planning when I only had like 1 month and I already had like 1 conference before. So I mean, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's feasible with your schedule and everything, but I think it would be helpful for me if I had a little bit more time to prepare. And then also like, you know, like schedule my classes and so forth. And also, again, I don't know if it's possible, but if you can guys talk with organizers in Mexico City, if they can kind of advertise it to all the like STEM departments in Mexico City, and especially encourage like young faculty, female faculty, or just starting female faculty, they would be, and just give, and if you already like choose your participants, so you can already give them, you know, like the website with information about the research. So if they can already like look and also try to connect with the participants, and I don't know, again, if it's possible to even like pay for their registration, so kind of like work both ways. So it's not only us reaching out, but also people who are already in place knowing about us coming. So maybe it'll be a little bit easier to make the connections.
Okay, so great ideas, and I can say we'll try. Every Gender Summit, you know, is set up by its own individual country very differently, and we don't have control of that at all. We did just get the dates for Mexico, so, you know, we might be able to do it slightly earlier, but it's in April, so by the time we put out the request for applications and, you know, give people time to answer, it's still going to be pretty near the same turnaround, unfortunately. Okay. And I think that it was really too bad that the app didn't work very well, because I was excited by that when I saw it. The first time that we, you know, were able to supposedly have that information in advance. It's so helpful to everybody. But, you know, I agree with you that it definitely did not work the way we had hoped it would work. And, again, unfortunately, we don't have any control over those kind of things. The group in Korea actually kind of made a big deal out of the fact that the 4 women were coming from the U.S. and, gave them some opportunities to do posters and that kind of thing. It was a little bit different in Germany, so we kind of have to go with the the people that are putting the conference on. But it is helpful to know what would be helpful to people so that we can always try to see if it's possible to do that.
Yeah, and I would agree a little more time, but I think otherwise, I think it went well, and I think our travel arrangements. I mean, it was nice to be able to see you, Yolanda, and Amber on the flight before, so it was nice that we were able to a little bit connect before that. And I think I would suggest to other participants in the future just more and more, right? The more contacts you can make and have backups and really maybe they should come with a flyer, a small poster about themselves, whether it could be presented or not. So I mean, because I'm even thinking that at this at the summit this time, there were plenty of empty boards in that poster area. So,
right.
If we'd have come with a nice little, anyway, that was a kind of one time I had that thought. I was like, wow, there's a lot of empty space. We could have.
Right. And so, and like I said, it does depend on who's organizing it, because it would have been great to, give people the opportunity to do something like that. Even if it's not your main area of expertise, you've definitely, thought about these issues and could have possibly done something along those lines. So we'll just keep trying.
Right.
So in Korea, as I said, we were, one of the participants was actually able to do a poster because she had some background in, in gender issues, and she was able to put something together. So it just really depends. Amber or Limari, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I agree with Cindy that you have to write to as much people as you can, because you need to have backup, because I know we didn't have that much time with our teaching load, but even in the summit or outside the summit, there were a lot of people, and I guess if you write more emails, the probability to have answers is going to be greater. And also, I will advise the participants to get really familiar with the place, the surroundings, and the available transportation. That's why, CD was able to go to Dresden in the train, so that was awesome, because he knew how to move around, and that's quite important too.
But I took a lot of it on faith, and it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would echo the other recommendations as well, just, sending out more emails than you think you need to. But I also found, and this was a little bit serendipitous, but I ended up giving a little talk to one of the folks I met with to her research group, and I don't know if it would be helpful to sort of offer when you, say, hey, can we set up a meeting, or I'm going to be in town, to possibly say, can I make a 20-minute presentation about some possible overlap or something like that? And so it gives them a concrete activity or thing to do during your meeting, and not just a vague, like, let's get together and talk. I didn't do that, but I think it ended up, she asked if I could bring some slides, and then it ended up being like a nice segue into the conversation afterwards.
Right, and this is Yolanda. So I had the opportunity to attend that too, and I did think it was a great icebreaker for one, because like Amber said, it gave them something to talk about. They really understood, what kinds of areas Amber was working in, and that helped them, see the similarities and the differences. And a couple of graduate students stayed over and had a longer conversation. I thought those things were very, very helpful. And I think it also gave the faculty person, you know, a chance to talk about her research a little bit and the way things are done in Germany and the challenges. And, you know, so I think that in the long term, you know, even if that doesn't end up being a short-term possibility for Amber, I think in the long term between the students and the professor, it begins to get people thinking about how can we help each other with our research. No question.
Okay. We don't have any questions from the audience so far. We have the one last question. We know that Germany is a very nice country, but we would like to know also what is the thing that you think you gained the most from this experience?
I think meeting people.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think meeting people and the connections. I mean, I think, and listening to other people's stories, and it affirms what you are doing. You know, sometimes you hear somebody else's struggle, right? It affirms that you're not alone, and gives you confidence and gives you, you know, just kind of that motivation to continue and keep working. And I think so maybe if I could sum it up, it'd be motivation.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I definitely want to agree. Yes.
I agree with Cindy that talking with them all helped me realize that I'm in a good position, and I just had to refocus some stuff just to keep going. And there's gonna be some struggle every time, but we have the skills to go over it and just keep ahead with our careers.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, so I agree, meeting with people, and also actually I'm hoping, I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but there will be Gender Summit in Japan in 2017, and since we are so close, only like less than 4 hours away on Guam, so I'm hoping, I talked with the organizer, and so I'm hoping maybe University of Guam can contribute to this one. I think it would be nice collaboration, and also they plan to have some of the meetings in Okinawa, which is even closer to Guam. So it would be nice to maybe even send some students over there and start maybe cooperation between universities. I mean, we already have some connections with Japan, but it would be nice to actually have even more.
Okay. Okay, so, and I'll just, I think also say again, I was, you know, really thrilled by the way that you guys formed relationships and, you know, the conversations that I had the opportunity to most of the time listen to instead of participate because I'm not a faculty member. But I noticed that there was a lot of information that you shared with each other and a lot of learning and how you handle different situations. And I think that it was really great to see, in addition to the fact that you got to begin making some international research collaborations. So I'm glad that all of you could attend, and we also really appreciate you taking out your time to do this webinar, and hope we can stay in touch and learn more about your research and what you're doing, and certainly keep us apprised of your next steps, because it sounds like you have some interesting things going on.
Sure.
Thanks very much.
Good. Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you.
All right, take care. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye all.
Bye.
Bye.